And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we want to welcome you all to the Hello LLC. If you don't know, Hello stands for Helping Entrepreneurs Leverage Web3 Optimizations. It is truly about helping you all make the pivot from 2D to 3D, understanding the importance of how we're making this pivot. And as we always share with you guys, always, right, is that your emotions, your mindset, your perspective, your values, your morals all take place in all of these decisions more than anything else, more than us sharing stats and facts, more than us sharing with you guys how other entrepreneurs and other businesses are implementing their business. And today we're really going to be having a great conversation on emotional intelligence, the role of emotions in decision making, not just in business, not just in life, not just in relationship, but in overall aspects that we're going to be touching base on today. And if you want to share your side of the story, you want to add on to this, mi casa, su casa, our house is your house. Collaboration is the new currency. And we really want more for you than, from you at the end of the day. And this is by opening up your mindset and opening up your mouth, opening up your heart, and investing in this conversation and really, contributing at the end of the day. And today, is Tara's day, where she takes this carriage, to the moon and back. So buckle up, buttercups, because it's definitely going to be a fun-filled adventure. Because you never know where you're going to go with my baby Tara. So, Tara, love, what you got for us today? Talk to us, baby.
Well, welcome on in, everybody. It's a great day to be here. So glad you could be here. Today, we're talking about Wisdom Wednesday. It's where we share a little wisdom from what we've learned through our life and through our process of owning a business and experience of owning a business. And today, we're going to talk about emotional intelligence. The only reason we're talking about that is because it goes hand in hand with everything else. You can't have a business. You can't run a business. You can't be in a part of an employee and not have emotional intelligence. And so that's what our conversation is going to be about today. I'm going to break down some facts and figures. I'm going to talk about some of how the brain reacts when you are in these modes, good, bad, or indifferent. It's okay. But the reason why we're having this conversation today is so that you can gain awareness. Because let me tell you, at the end of the day, awareness is the greatest thing. Self-awareness is the greatest gift you can give yourself. It has, and I speak only from experience in this, and that's because at the end of the day, guys, I was just having this conversation with my mom this morning. I hold no bars. I am 42 years young. I act like I'm 6 because I think just being young at heart is fun and it's good for your soul. But through my 30s and my late 20s, I thought I was batshit, crazy. I thought I was just lost on cuckoo land. I thought I was bipolar. I thought I had multiple personalities because of my emotional swings. And so today I'm really going to speak from a point of view of my own experiences, because you can't talk about anybody else. You're not in their shoes. But I can sure talk about my shoes, and I can sure be open and authentic so you guys understand what I went through. And maybe that might resonate. Maybe you might know somebody. We all know somebody that we probably like, oh, if they would just get this down pat, they would be on the right track. And unfortunately, we've all heard that old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And that's okay. I mean, you can even tell him, hey, you're thirsty. You want some water? But they're not going to do it until they're ready to do it. And that was my own experience. And so when I talk about emotions, it's important to remember that, I'm a female. So, I'm not saying that a broad stroke, but, females are a little more in tune with their emotions, have a little more hormonal things that run around in our body that do affect emotions. Not saying guys don't at all, just kind of speaking from, again, my shoes, my experience. And the other side of that, for myself, I was born in July, so I'm a Cancer. And if you know anything about astrology, Cancer is the most emotional sign there is. It's a water sign. So there we go. Let's add that on top of it. And the third thing is at the end of the day, as women age, we go through a progression that many people know, but some things come into our life where our hormones are starting to change. Life events happen. I'm going to keep this as PG and as professional as possible, but life events happen as we age as women, and that also affects our emotional IQ. And so it really is an open conversation of how those are affecting in business. Now, I'm talking in a general consensus for both men and women. I encourage you guys all to jump up here on this stage today, share what you've learned, share maybe some of the struggles that you went through as maybe a male or a female with, emotions in business or just emotional intelligence in general. It comes down to the emotional IQ that we hold really does affect our decision making. And as David and I have talked privately in our life, it's so much easier. It's so easier to see everybody else's maybe lack of emotional intelligence than our own. And when you can really sit down and be with your own two thumbs, meaning yourself, when you can take care of yourself and realize where your emotions are coming from, what your IQ level is within your EQ, emotional intelligence, it really just, now looking back, now that I've made the journey and I'm still, making the journey, but I'm so self-aware of who I am and what my emotions are, it really has, I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful I made it through the other side and I didn't need to, medicate myself or anything else. But for a long time, I thought, ooh, I think I'm off the Richter scales here. So we're going to dive into this conversation. I just want to welcome everybody in. It's great to have you. Hi, Miss Christy. Hey, Chef Andy. It's so good to see you. Hey, Mike. Hi, Nancy. Hey, Saoirse. I hope I said that right. Or Saoirse. I hope I said that right. Please come up or drop in the chat if I did not. And to all those others that are listening to us on Facebook Live, Instagram Live, Twitch, X Spaces, LinkedIn Live, not audio, because we are on two different sides of that planet there. And we just welcome you guys in. And if you guys want to be a participant in this conversation, you're more than welcome to join us. Or if you can't and you're in listening mode, you're more than welcome to drop us a line, because we enjoy having others contribute to these conversations, because we're all going through something in life. And this is for all age ranges. I know a lot of us, when we were younger, we were wild and free and maybe lacked a little less emotional awareness. And as we gain some age and experience, we kind of get a little more understanding of what's going on and, not putting so much energy into that. So, again, we appreciate you guys being here. And with that said, Mr. Jones, do you want to say anything or jump onto this bandwagon before I jump into the facts and figures?
No, baby, this is your show. Let's get it, baby.
You know it. So let's go. Well, research done by Talent Smart, guys, states that emotional intelligence, it helps if I can get that word out correctly, accounts for 58% of performance in jobs. So as whether you are a contractor for a workplace, if you're an employee of a workplace, even if you are part of the management or ownership of a workplace, your emotional intelligence is going to dictate 58% of what you're doing and how you're performing within that job. Guys, I know I was just sharing this conversation with David. I've shared it with him many times, but through my corporate career of 22 plus years, I worked with everybody from installation teams and crews and contractors and general, construction contractors in that realm, all the way up to the C-suite. I was working with CEOs, CFOs, presidents, vice presidents. I had a wide range of individuals to work with. And for the first 15 years in my corporate experience, I worked for a firm that really helped me develop emotional IQ, EQ. I did not have that down pat. I thank God every day. I think and count my blessings that they stuck it with me. They trained me, they taught me, they gave me grace and forgiveness, because I think as we all are young in our workforce era, we get a little wild and crazy. and we don't always, have the emotional intelligence that is there or that we need in order to be at our top performing. And so that 58%, I really understand that because, some days my dog ate my homework. I didn't have homework and I didn't have a dog. So we all know how that story goes, right? According to Harvard Business Review, people with high emotional intelligence make better decisions in high pressure situations because they're able to manage the stress and understand what emotional components will show up during those situations, and they're self-aware of how those react, what their body feels when those emotions are coming into play, and how to be able to manage them. I say that because for myself individually, when I was younger and I didn't have such a gain or grasp on that realm, on that emotional intelligence or self-awareness with my emotions, I would dismiss the body telling me that I was moving into that emotional state of mind, that fight or flight kind of state of mind, which is what is triggered when we are having an emotional reaction. And for me, now that I'm self-aware, now that I pay attention, I will kind of get a fire in my stomach that will move up into my chest and throat. And all of a sudden, I know what is going to come next if I do not get a control of it is almost like a fire-breathing dragon. I just have figured out and learned what my signs are. And I will say, open and honestly, I don't always get that fire-breathing dragon tamed. Sometimes it slips past me, and I'm like, crap, I knew, I saw, I felt it, and I didn't do anything about it.
What?
But
Say that
with
part
you having
again.
that awareness, boy, it really does allow you to get control of it quickly, and it allows you to also master the ability to take ownership of it and reinstate your integrity. And that was something David and I learned about 8 years ago, was how to really understand how to reinstate your integrity when it's out of line. You're never going to have perfect integrity because life happens. But if you can manage it and be honest and be open and be willing to own your integrity, own the lack thereof when it shows up, which is that is a direct link to the emotional intelligence that we all carry. And look, we're all very intelligent human beings, organisms. We can, rock and roll with the best of them. But when we are not aware of what's going on in our own bodies, we tend to then kind of look outwardly at other people or other things or situations and make them wrong or make them the problem. In reality, you are in control of your life no matter what. No matter what. So, according to Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence, 90% of top performers in organizations score high in the emotional intelligence level, leading to better decision making, teamwork, and leadership. So, people who have really done the work of understanding where their emotional intelligence is and what they are doing and who they're being within, whether it's a business setting or a personal setting, it really lends to you being a top performer. And that's because, guys, I want to just share this little thing. I used to watch Full House growing up. I know I'm dating myself, and that's probably some of you are going, oh, you're still so young. But anyways, I used to watch Full House growing up. And I remember one episode where the oldest daughter, DJ, had snuck out, went to a party, and where there was drinking, and I'm sure other things that were happening at this party, and came home, and she chose to tell her dad what happened. And when she came home, she had to call her Uncle Jesse. If anybody knows Full House, the two uncles lived with them, but she had to call her Uncle Jesse to come get her because she was scared what her dad's reaction was going to be. And she got home, and her dad went to go talk to her in her room. And she starts sharing about, well, I don't want to share because I know you're going to be mad at me. So just ground me, just punish me, that's all thing. And his reaction was everything. Now, I know this is a scripted show. I know this, but look at how, 25, 30 years later, it still impacts me. His reaction was everything. It was the fact of, no, it's okay, honey. Just share with me what happened, and, let's work through it. And his calm demeanor, being, emotionally available, not getting into the upset of, you snuck out, you were at a party where there was underage drinking, all of these things that were going on. You had to call your Uncle Jesse to bring you home. All of these factors didn't lose his cool. She shared with him openly about what happened. He just said, what's the lesson we learned from this? How can we improve this in the future? And that whole reaction between the father and the daughter was enlightening to me at a very young age. And here I am, again, 20, 30 years later, still talking about it, because it really impacted me. I really realized, wow, there's a way for, parents or us as humans to react to each other, to create a space that makes the other person feel comfortable and safe to share. And all too often, what happens is we're all, taking the bull by the horns in our own life. And there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes we get so geared, and I do this so I will only speak about myself. You get so geared at taking that bull, taking charge, getting things done, that you forget of how to have some empathy and compassion and understanding of where people are coming from, where you are coming from, and just really understanding how being able to master your emotional intelligence can really help you, be that cream that floats to the top, and you then become, the top 10% of the work community, or your business, if you own a business, because it really just is the impactful way of who you are showing up as. And I, being, a young lady, growing up, being a cancer, being an individual that my father taught me to be very hyper independent. There's nothing wrong with hyper independency, but you have to also understand not to steamroll people or things or places or positions when we're making decisions or when we're just interacting with others in life, because it comes down to the simple fact of nobody really wants to be in confrontation. The reason why confrontation shows up is because usually the person who is being feisty or upset about something lacks maybe that emotional awareness of who they're being, and they're not aware that there is something else triggered inside them that might not really be what's going on in front of them, but it reminds them of a past experience, and all of a sudden that past experience will just bite you in the booty, and we all know how that goes. So, I want to welcome Charles on in. Raven, it's great to see you. Marion, thanks for being here. We're having this conversation. You guys are more than willing to jump up on our stage and come visit and come share your experiences if you would like to. We don't require it, but this is an open stage, and we always like everybody to invite everybody to come be a part of this, because it's great to have a dialogue of outside of just David and I chit-chatting and sharing. But Mr. Jones, I wanted to circle back and see if you had anything you want to add to that before we kind of, jumped into some other things here, and just kind of share what you've learned through this emotional intelligence journey that we have both been on personally and professionally.
Yeah, love, great shares, great information. And, you definitely, especially both of us being cancers, and our birthdays being 4 days apart, we definitely get the emotional standpoint as cancers being, one of the emotional, signs. And even throughout our journey, understanding how our emotions has impacted our life, impacted our business, in all aspects. And this is what we share with people, is that how you do one thing is how you do everything. And how you respond in business is how you're responding to, your to your significant other. If people at your job is telling you you don't listen and you're listening to respond, then you're doing that at home as well. And this is where we have to really take, consideration of how we show up, and how our energy and our vibration, and our frequency really plays towards each other, because we're all in this together. And yes, a brother did just mention energy. frequency, and vibration. And if I had heard another brother say that about 4 to 5 years ago, I would have been like, what is he talking about? But it is absolutely true. And manifestation is true. And meditation gets you there, and especially helping you with your emotional intelligence. With me meditating more than ever now, really allows me to sit back and understand how I'm showing up, how I'm being. And a lot of the times, most people aren't aware how they show up. And, something that I shared earlier, with people is that, we have to be aware of, the language that we speak, and our words carry weight. And, if you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say it at all. And so often we allow our mouth to get us in trouble, or our hands to get us in trouble with how we react, and what triggers inside of us. And really being able to be aware of that, and how it impacts, our decision making, and how we reflect to the world. And so, you know, the other day I heard something that was so key, and I shared this, and I'm gonna keep sharing it probably for the next week or so. Is that, a lot of people talk about being authentic and showing up and being real, and in order for you to be authentic, you have to be able to heal yourself first to show up authentic. And for you to show up authentic, you have to be able to, really call yourself up and go down that journey of healing. And a lot of the times we allow our traumas, we allow our dramas to become patterns and programs, and we really can't show up authentically because we haven't healed ourselves. And we are so ticked and so tempted to, talk about everybody else and how they should, show up in life and what they should do. Prime example, with this big political thing that's going on, everybody has, their 2 cents to put in, about what this person should do or what that person should do, but we're not doing it ourselves in our own lives. But yet we're holding other people to change, things that have so many different, segmentations and intricacies to it, when yet all it takes us is being more kind, being more loving, having more grace, right? And really not having that old mentality, or paint people in a picture that we've painted for themselves. And this goes in relationships, this goes for friendships, this goes for kids, this goes for all aspects. And that's really what we wanted to bring to this conversation today, is for you all to really, how are your emotions showing up? Are they showing up, eager? Are they showing up mean? Are they showing up loving? Are they showing up with grace? How much love and kindness are you giving, other people? And that really goes down to how much love and grace are you giving yourself? Because although, and even with that token, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. That's externally and internally, because your words carry weight. And we talk about haters, we talk about people not supporting our business, we talk about people making comments and vile statements out in the public. But at the end of the day, I want to remind you, you are your biggest hater, you are your biggest critic. And those play out in your emotions, kind of like if you grew up on a planet with aliens that danced and singed all the time, and then all of a sudden you got dropped down on this planet Earth, and it was people like us that didn't, that weren't 14 foot tall and weren't dancing. That's a different scenario. That's a different way you're going to react. And our surroundings create our stories, that create our sacrifices, that really create our self disciplines, that really gets us to that conversation with the soul. And so I would just encourage you guys all, in even a simpler way out of all that I just said. Whenever you go and react and you go and respond, I want you to ask yourself, do I want to be rich, or do I want to be right? And a lot of the times we choose to be right in the scenario, which, being right has a lot of ego, has a lot of pride, has a lot of, in it, other than do I want to be rich, not in the pocketbook, but rich in this relationship, rich in friendship, rich in giving grace, and rich in just living life, happy and joyful and not being all this upsetness. And in today's society, it seems that it's more cooler to be emotional intelligence, lack of having emotional intelligence, and that's cool. Where somebody that does has emotional intelligence and can control, their demeanor is not as cool and gets looked down upon when it's actually the opposite way around. And so, I love this conversation that we're having that takes us away from the business side that we continuously talk about, but really takes us back down to the meat and potatoes, the blocking and tackling, the fundamentals of your emotions and how you show up in life in all aspects, and your emotions play key to that. Prime example, those of us that are in business or are business owners, right? And we talked about this somewhat, touched on it yesterday, is that, a lot of the times things happen in our business that burns us or stings us in a way, and that stops us from integrate from talking or moving forward with other companies because of this one situation, and it really sets us back in our business because of this emotional attachment that happened to this one particular moment. And I'm more than certain you all can pinpoint something that's happened in your business that you said, oh, I will never do that again, or I won't do this, or more hesitant on this, when you have to detach the emotions behind it and really more so take ownership of it. And I'll give you an example. My mom went out of town, a week ago, and my father, locked himself out of the garage. And so he couldn't get in, and he had to break a window, and he got pissed off and mad at my mom not taking, because my mom wouldn't answer the phone, when he was calling her, but he wasn't taking responsibility that his ass had the keys, and that my mom handed him the keys, and that he didn't take the keys outside the garage, and he didn't do what he was supposed to do, and he wasn't taking responsibility, and that was lack of emotional intelligence on his side. Why are you getting mad at mom when you were supposed to take responsibility, and she gave you the keys and was preventative, but yet we're getting mad? And that just turns into a big cluster, shit show at the end of the day, as we all can imagine. But these are moments that we don't allow ourselves to take responsibility of how we're showing up and what we could do, and we start in the middle of the story, right? Other than the beginning of the story, and we point the fingers at the other person, other than taking a step back and being like, you know what? I probably should have taken those keys out of that garage and put them in my truck, as it originally was intended. And guess what? I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't need to really have called, my wife to ask her for the code if I had did what I did from the beginning, and now there wouldn't have been an argument. So this is part of the emotional awareness and emotional intelligence that we have to be aware of how we show up. So hopefully that helped. Chef Andy, brother, welcome over here on our clubhouse. Welcome, brother. If you guys do not know about Chef Andy, I would highly encourage you to go learn about his Biz in a Box, where he himself has been able to, implement his business, his brand into the metaverse, where you guys can join the metaverse from your actual cell phone, from your laptop, from your actual iPad. And if you do have the VR headsets, yes, you can join as well. And so those of you that are in Clubhouse, you'll see his Biz in the Box up at the top, that you can go into his metaverse world. Those of you over here on LinkedIn, I'll put it in the chat, and all other social audios that we're on as well. But Chef Andy, brother, you got anything you want to add to this conversation? Let's go.
Well, I really like the idea of, excuse me, taking responsibility for oneself, and obviously the situation you just shared, being so transparent with your dad, your mom, that happens a lot in terms of misunderstanding, and really basically it is that taking the responsibility. But I know we're spiritual beings having a human experience, but at the same time, sometimes you get stuck in the human faults that we have to go through in order to live that out in its fullest. So really, it really is the aspect of taking responsibility, but at the same time trying to have what they say plan B as a backup, or plan C, whatever it might be, and having a clear vision or a clear mind. So many of us today, especially what's going on in the world, externally, outside, because we are the world we walk through. That's an old Christian Science saying, we are the world we walk through, from Mary Baker Eddy and or also Margaret Laird from the Mother Church in Boston, Christian Science. Anyway, we have to take responsibility to the extent of allowing mistakes to happen. We understand that we're not perfect, only God's perfect. And at the same time, understand what the other person is going through, not to psychoanalyze your dad or your mom at this point, but obviously, it was like you say, a whole show that happened there, shit show, whatever you said, that it could happen. And then a lot of times it's like clouds that just pass right away. So it's really being understanding of how we react and interact to the stress levels that we have. So it's really good to take control, number one, of our stress levels as much as we can. So we're not like a ticking time bomb that whatever comes up, it could be as simple as, that situation with the keys, or it could be some other simple, very, very simple thing that we don't think it's that important. But if we're all pent up inside, if we have a lot of stress inside, we have anger, or we don't have a release valve, like the steam needs to get out somewhere, and whoever's around us is going to get the brunt of that steam, and boom, it's going to come right out. So we really need to take responsibility individually for that, regarding the action. So I'm really enjoying this conversation. I'm loving my Biz in a Box. There's going to be some changes coming up very, very soon, but I'll share that with you guys, in the back channel. But anyway, thanks so much for always being there for everybody. And if people don't have their Biz in a Box yet and have their own room in the meta universe, they better get to it. Get in the game, they say. Thanks so much, David, and thanks so much, Tara.
Well, you're welcome, Chef Andy, and thanks for jumping up here and sharing. You put it so eloquently in from the point of view of having grace for others, of what they're going through, we're not walking in, other people's shoes, and just kind of understanding that there is a level of grace we can hold for other people as they're making their journey. And, speaking from experience, that is a lesson gained with experience in life and age, because, I've always been a sympathetic, empathetic kind of person, but boy, I did not allow a lot of grace for people. And it takes me a lot nowadays to, I will always extend grace to somebody. I'm actually have a bit of a family situation going on my end, on my, my immediate family, and I still extend grace in the situation. But I just am like, I don't want to be around it, so there's a choice. Choice and grace is not the same thing. You can always extend grace, but you also have a choice of how you want to be involved, and the energy you want to, put into it, because again, like you said, it's so important for us to protect that, kind of the stressors and what we're managing or what we're dealing with and navigating through that journey, right? And so again, guys, we'd love for you to go check out Chef Andy's Business in a Box. And for those that don't have a link above your head, it's singingchefsauces.com. He's got amazing pasta sauces out there that could be also as pizza sauces if you want to make pizza with them. He's got some brilliant recipes that he has, that are some of them from his family lineage as well, his grandma and his nona, as he says. And so just get out there, go check them out, go check out his metaverse. We are a huge proponent of sharing others and what they're up to. And if you're up to something, you're more than welcome to come up on our stage and share how the community can get involved and support you too, because that's what this is about. We all grow and we all get to, reach newer heights together. So with that said, we're going to shift gears here in the same conversation, but I was talking about some facts and figures for those that just kind of jumped in here. But, I wanted to kind of share about the mechanics.
Oh, 1 second, Love. I actually
go ahead, Love. Go ahead.
For those of you that are in LinkedIn, I actually put Chef Andy's Biz in a Box link in the actual chat and in the review details. You guys know the drill. So also, if you guys could share and like. Before you go, Love, we got Mike over here. Mike, brother, did you want to tap in on this topic or subject, brother? Talk to us if you got something.
Yeah, it's a great topic. I didn't necessarily have anything to say, but
LinkedIn, Love.
On the note of emotional head. When I started running my own business, and as I started gaining employees, it is definitely something that you need to learn right away. Whether you like it or not, I think you have no choice but to learn it. And I think that's kind of what you mentioned, like, a lot of business owners have like emotional intelligence. And I almost feel like if you think you need some emotional intelligence, like, try to run your own business and manage some employees, and you'll learn very quickly whether you like it or not, because everything they do is your fault. Everything that happens is your fault. And if it's not your fault, then that means that you need to work on that emotional intelligence, right? Because it's your business. It's up to you to run it, and like, these employees aren't taking those things that you need to take into consideration. And they're the only ones that could say, well, it's not my fault. I just work here, right? So even when it is technically their fault, it should be your fault, because you need to think of a way to prevent that. You need to think of a way to stop that thing from happening if it happens, or if one of those employees does that. So it's even like a preventative thing too, where it's not just a reaction thing. It's like, I know that this thing could happen that would lead to emotional distress within the company or the employee or the client or whoever. And you've got to try to like put little safety nets in there so that when somebody falls off their emotional chair, at least you've got a net there ready to catch them, so that nobody really notices them when they hit the ground,
Man.
Yeah, Mike.
I'm just going to jump in here on that one, because, Mike, you are 10% correct. Be a business owner with employees, or heck, be even in management in corporate America, and have people underneath you, and you will learn. You will be forced to learn emotional intelligence quickly. I had that same example or same taste when I started managing people in corporate America. I was like, holy sheep nozzles, here we go. This is what we're doing. And it really made me aware of who I was being. And I laugh and I chuckle, because for those that don't know, I'm up in Idaho right now visiting my family. That's where my family's from. David's, holding down the fort in Mexico at the moment. But the funniest thing is that my brother has employees. He's been running his own business for nearly 30 years. So he's always had employees. And he is every day talking about employees and they're just the lack of their emotional awareness, the lack of ownership that they take. And Mike, you hit it on the head. They'll never understand that and I'm paraphrasing, they'll never understand that because they're not the owner. Like my brother always shares with his employees. He says, my name's on the side of the truck. My name is who the customers call when there's good, bad, or indifferent. My name is who signs the check. Like at the end of the day, it all comes back to me. So you're an extension and a representation of me. And I'll just share this little story. Yesterday, he had an employee walk off the job site about 30 minutes before quitting time. He's young. He is early 20s. He is full of, PISS and vinegar, as they say. And he is just ripping and ready to snorting to go. And he's a very confident young man. So he thinks he knows kind of everything. And my brother owns an excavation and a trucking and hauling business. And so this was on the excavation side, which means you're working with, backhoes and loaders and skidsters all day. And so he doesn't have the level of experience when it comes to machine operating that my brother does. Again, my brother's been doing machine operation for 30 plus years now. He's been doing it since he was, in middle school and high school. And you learn a little thing or two when you have that many years of experience. And this, kid does not have that amount of years. He has a little bit of experience. He has some room for growth. And he got all bent out of shape yesterday because my brother was telling him how to kind of operate the machinery he was operating in a smoother manner. A, so it wouldn't tear up his equipment. B, so that way it saved them time. And C, overall, so it was safe for everybody on the ground working around this equipment. And the young kid just, kind of spouted off and said, why you got to be a micromanager all the time? You don't let none of us work just how we need to work. And my brother just said, well, that's okay. But again, I sign the checks. I am the boss. My name is on the side of the equipment, and the customer's going to come talking to me. And if you get hurt, it's my insurance that's going to take care of and save you and make sure you're okay. So we're going to do it my way. And when you become your own owner in your own company and you run your own company, then you can do it how you want to do it. But in the meantime, we're going to do it this way because this is working smarter, not harder, and it's safe for everybody. And he just, got a little, ticked off on that and just decided he was going to walk back to the pit. They were only working about 5 miles away. So he ended up having somebody come pick him up and bring him back to the shop here. And my brother was telling me about this yesterday, and he just was laughing and chuckling. And I said, you do remember when we were that age, right? You remember when we just knew everything and we were not willing to listen to dad or to employers. My brother had a shorter stint of employers than I did, but there was definitely a time I thought I knew everything. There are still days that I show up and act like I know everything, but I am really humbled very quickly when I don't know everything. And it just is, as we get older, it's easier for us to let that go and just kind of chuckle at it. But man, when my brother was, a younger business owner, he would lock horns with these employees and they would just go round and round and round. And now he's like, oh no, that takes way too much energy. At the end of the day, he either wants to work here or he doesn't. And that's okay. It's his choice. But we're going to do things the way I do things because that's why this customer is a repeat customer. And so when you share that, Mike, that just really brought up that scenario that we were chuckling about last night, because you're kind of forced in a position of, well, we're going to learn some emotional intelligence today. And I told my brother last night, I said, does it feel like you're raising kids again? He says, oh gosh, yes. He's like, I already raised my kids and they're still going through it. He's like, I think I'm done hiring these young kids because it's like raising your own all over again. And again, it doesn't matter what age you are. I'm picking on the younger generation, but it doesn't matter what age you are. We all come in different shapes and sizes with different emotional buttons and different emotions. And it's just at the end of the day, being aware of those things and how they happen and how they show up. And it takes maturity, I guess is the word for it, is, to kind of get out of your own way and stop taking offense to those upsets. And so, thank you, Mike, for sharing that. It just made me chuckle because I think we all live through it, whether we want to or not, whether we're own our own business or we, manage other people in corporate America. It's an entertaining and entertainment at its finest if you don't get wrapped up in it. So, Mr. Jones, did you want to jump in on that before I move on?
Yeah, Mike is so spot on, and you were as well. It is a different mindset. And so, I when I transitioned from, being a C-level executive, to owning my own business, there was definitely some night and day concepts that I didn't understand that, you do understand once you go through it. And being on the other side, especially when they say, the customer's always right. Absolutely not. That is so, I don't know who did that, but it's kind of like that TikTok commercial when you go into heaven and you see that person and they have the meme where they slap them. That's the person I want to slap, is whoever decided to come up with that, because so often, customers and business owners, because guess what? They're one and the same. We've all been customers. We've all been, in business that do have our business. And we know, looking back at situations, that we could have handled some things better. We could have, talked to clients better, and we don't. And because something might be going on in our lives, as Tara was talking about, just emotional things that happen in our life on a daily thing. If you get in a fight with your wife, if your kids are acting up, if your job isn't going well, prime example, the craziest thing I found out yesterday is that my sister had been looking for a new job, and lo and behold, she got this new job. And literally before she was about to put in her 2 weeks notice, the company that she was working for, Texas Children's Hospital, laid off 1,500 people. And she was one of those 1,500 people. And so the great thing for her is that she's going to get paid double, with this new job and, the severance that she's getting from, Texas Children. And so, and she said, I could have went in there and just blew it up, but I didn't. I decided I would wait. I decided I would handle it in a professional manner, and look how it came across. And so a lot of the times we do allow our emotions to take over, and we do things that we regret. But if we do take a step back and say, okay, if I do this, how is this going to impact somebody? And even more importantly, from, as I was sharing, from actual corporate and a business mindset, it's like, okay, if I do, act in this certain way, then that's going to ruin my reputation for this, that, and the other. And I wish everybody had the opportunity to own their own business, because I think it would change the way we do talk to each other. Because a lot of the times that we don't have any skin in the game, or it's not our business, or it's not our name on the side of the truck, we do just pop off and say things based on our traumas, based on our dramas, that happen in life, when really you are a brand at the end of the day. You do have a reputation at the end of the day. And so what you say matters. And it's so key that we're able to hold on to that. But, as Tara has shared, as I will continue to share, all these good things that we're talking about, that's cute and adorable now. But when the rubber meets the road in the heat of the battle, how will you show up? And that is where we encourage you guys to really, the next time something does come up, you remember this conversation, be like, hold on, do I want to be rich? Do I want to be right? Is this my reputation? What am I doing? What am I saying? If it's not nothing nice, then I probably don't need to say it at all. And okay, here we are. Let me reprogram. Just like when your phone start acting cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, what your ass do? You turn it off, you turn it back on, and you hope that it acts right. We should be doing the same thing, because you're no different at the end of the day. Be honest. But back to you, love. What you got?
Yeah, I mean, it's so much easier said than done, as we all know, and as we've all experienced through life, and when you were sharing about your sister's, story there, it reminded me of, yesterday, my brother, it's when you have a business that's always, with employees, especially when you're in construction, which is where my brother's business is, you have a high turnover rate of employees, because it's always, someone, is offering $1 more, or they're, it's closer to home, or whatever the, case might be. And he just a few weeks ago had a truck driver that had chose to move on down the road and go work for another company that paid 50 cents more, I guess, or whatever it was. And so last night, my brother and I were outside looking at something at my mom's house. And And for those that don't know, we live on kind of a family compound at office. My brother's house is on the opposite end of the entire property. There's a big shop, his workshop in the middle, and then my mom's property, or my mom's house, is on the other side of the property. So he was over here, and we were looking at something outside, as we always are doing something. And I saw somebody walking on the property, and I was like, Sean, who is that? And he goes, oh, I think it's the neighbor. And I was like, oh, are they on our side of the fence? He's like, yeah, I think, so it's okay. They're cool. And I was like, oh, okay, I just saw somebody, and it's, nearly 10 o'clock at night. And it made me just kind of go, who is that? Because we don't got a lot of people walking around on property, at 10 o'clock at night. And the short story of it was he came over and said hi. It was definitely the neighbor. Got to talking to my brother, and lo and behold, he has his CDL, or is actually finishing up reinstating his CDL, which is, you all know that's a endorsement on your driver's license, so you can drive truck. And had drove hazmat material for a very long time in a previous life, and now is driving for Brown Bus. And up here, Brown Bus is the school bus systems that, for, the kids going to school, and is always kind of looking to pick up some different things in the middle of the day, because he drives in the morning, and then he comes back in the afternoon to drop the kids off at home. And my brother was like, well, I'm always looking for a part-time driver that can make some runs during the, the middle of the day, or maybe in the, late evening. And so I'd love to, be able to throw you in the truck when you CDL's reinstated, and, give you, he's right here on property, essentially, because it's a piece of the property that they sold long time ago to these, to the neighbors. And so, the point of why I'm sharing the story is just in conjunction with what David was sharing as with his sister is, she was already looking for something, already found something. She was accepting that offer, and lo and behold, Texas Children's Hospital decided they're going to lay off 1,500 people. She was one of them. And same thing with my brother. He was kind of looking for somebody part-time, full-time if they wanted to be. But point being is, when you go with the flow, and I tell David this all the time, if you will put your oars in your boat, in your little rowboat, if you will put your oars into the boat and just sit back and let the flow take you where you need to go, it will work out. But all too often, we are trying to row ourselves upstream against, the current, with a windstorm and rain in our face and 17 holes in our paddles and our boat, and we're sinking and we're trying to stay afloat, instead of just saying, you know what, I'm going to just go with it. And when you go with it, you create less resistance, and you create more opportunity for things to flow to you, whatever that is, whether, you need help with something, or you're looking for a new opportunity, or, whatever that, might be, more time in your schedule, whatever it might be that you need. When we just go with the flow, it is so much easier. And that's what, popped in my mind when David was sharing about his sister's situation. And I'm, sharing about what my brother is going through. And he says, well, the sun always shines. It's just whether you're looking to see if the sun is shining. And so it's just having that disposition. And again, guys, that comes with emotional intelligence. That comes with being able to go through these experiences in life and understand that, we all started off we've all started off maybe not so emotionally intelligent. I don't mean that as a disrespect or a downplay to anybody, but we've all been through our gauntlet, as they shall say. So I wanted to shift gears in here into this conversation and kind of talk about the mechanics. And, the mechanical side of this is that there's something that is happening in your body when the emotions arise, when you have, the lack of emotional intelligence, or you have fine-tuned your emotional intelligence, and what is actually happening. I will share this. David and I, we've been together for 14 years. So we've been together for a while. And I think it was year 6 or 7 that we were just hitting a hard time in our relationship. And so we were seeking guidance from all different, avenues. And we had went to a young lady to talk with her, and a counselor. And, I went first. It was the first session. And the second session, David went with me. And she told me, well, you know, what's going on in your mind when this happens and when an upset's coming down the pipeline is that your prefrontal cortex right there is getting hot. And, you know, you need to cool that down, because that's really what's going on, is that you're going into the fight or flight stage because of your prefrontal cortex is, you know, warming up. And, you know, your body will, your brain will overheat if it doesn't do something about it. And so what you need to do is get a cold rag, like put it in the ice box, the freezer, or have a bag of peas or some sort of ice pack, and grab that out of the freezer when you know you're getting, you know, excited or heated about something, and just put that at the back of your neck. You can put it at the front of your head, but the back of your neck will cool it off faster, and that's how you kind of solve it. And we got out of that conversation and we were driving home, and I looked at David and I said, for $800 out of between 2 sessions, that was the only information I'm going to get, is that I need to put an ice pack on the back of my neck. I said, oh, there's got to be something else. I am missing something here, because yes, that might be the mechanics of it, but there is a deeper rooted issue or a root cause that I'm not getting to. And I just don't know if I'm going to go back. Needless to say to everybody, we did not go back. Look, there it is. You see what's happening.
Hold on. Time out. And so, you know, when at this point, this was, you know, I don't need no damn psychiatrist, forget all that, the typical, you know, man bullshit that we go through, you know, saying we don't need to go to no counselor, none of this stuff. But I was like, you know what, I want this to work, so let me drop this and let me just go. And we sat there, and this lady started talking, and I'm looking at her, she's looking at me, and I'm like, this is that bullshit right here, Tara. And this lady rung us up, and I'm like, you mean to tell me this lady just got us for $350? And I walked out of there with nothing. I was pissed. I was so pissed. And I say that because then further on down the line, Tara then, you know, went and she found this course that some of you might have heard of, you might not have, right? Called Landmark. And Tara had heard about this course well beforehand. And her bosses had paid for her ass to go. And she lied to them and told them she went, and she did not go. She had a full 3-day weekend and went back to the office like everything.
Pocketed that money and went out. That's exactly what I did.
And so this is why we share with you guys, you know, these stories, because we know the old mindset. We know the little tiger. We know these little tricks that our minds plays on us, that, you know, me and Tara have really progressed through, that we share with other people. And, you know, Tara went to this course after she finally buckled up and went. And then, you know, we got in another big argument, and guys, we were on our wits' end at this point. And then, you know, I went to this course, and oh my God, it changed our lives so much. And, you know, we went through like a whole year of this course, and they had weekly events and all these other things. And so we completed the whole thing. And I mean, it definitely changed our perspective. And so, you know, when we talk about this emotional intelligence, it's living powerfully. It's really being able to have integrity. It's really being able to love. It's really being able to have kindness. And just because you talk about these things, that's cute and adorable, but will you do these things and have, you know, the little, you know, the little trinkets that can be able to help you out, and understand that, look, 100, our past plays a huge trick on us. And we live more in our past than we do in our future. And that dictates how we react. And, you know, just earlier today, what was it? You know, we're born looking like, you know, our mom and our dad, but we die with the decisions that we make. And your emotional, you know, intelligence is so key in how you age and how you, you know, respond in life, because, you know, you make decisions that, you know, don't cater to your body well, or don't cater to other people's, you know, health wise. then it can be a world of trouble. And so this is why we had this conversation. But go ahead, love. Yeah, I was pissed. I was pissed.
We told you we'd share with you guys our authenticness of where we came and why we understand how important it is to be self-aware of, you know, your emotions and what you're doing. But the reason why we shared that story with you guys is because the mechanics of what is happening in your body is a two-part kind of system here, right? In your mind, with the prefrontal cortex, back to that, you know, where it could overheat and, you know, you got to put the ice pack on your neck at the base of your skull. And the amygdala is basically your prefrontal cortex is involved in the local decision making, and your amygdala deals with the emotional responses. And being able to have that balance between the two is what gives you the emotional intelligence. So your prefrontal is getting heated and it's heating up and it's sending all kinds of warning signals out to your body, which is when I shared earlier that my hightail sign that I know I'm getting feisty and I'm losing my emotional, holding is I feel it in kind of the top of my stomach, right. And then it starts moving up in my chest and kind of my throat, like I'm going to breathe fire. And that's where those two components in your brain are working to either, where you're aware and you can kind of defuse, take a deep breath, 10 deep breaths. I'm telling you, I know it sounds crazy, but 10 deep breaths, in and out can really bring some oxygen level and bring it down a bit. And I used to think that was, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And again, David and I have
go get the ice. Go get the ice. We need the ice.
Yeah, where's the ice? Quick! David would be throwing ice packs at me, and we just, for the amount of money we spent during those two sessions, and look, obviously it stuck with me because here we are. 8 or 9 years later, 8 or 9 years later, laughing about it because we've been doing the work. But it was the start of the journey. It was the start of the awareness of something's going on. And the other part of the mechanics that's going on is, and this is a little deeper, and this is where people really, it's hard to do the work, is the trigger, the emotional trigger. Every time something happens in our life, in today's, like right now, whether today someone cut you off in traffic or, you stubbed your toe or, whatever the external influence is, what's happening is that is sparking. It's kind of like, have you guys ever seen two wires that are like not connected and you touch them together and they give you a little spark? Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's two wires that are sparking and you're touching a nerve. You are literally, the dentist is in your mouth and they're digging around and your numbing agent is not fully numb and you could feel when they hit that nerve. That's the same reaction we're having when something happens today. It takes us right back to an experience that we've had in life that wasn't so pleasant. And our body learns how to be in fight or flight mode from that. And that is where we have to stop and do the work to realize what happened. And I'll share, this, because again, I'm an open book. It don't bother me none. I grew up with an older brother, so I have learned to tell on myself first before anybody else tells on me. But, in school, middle school, in more preciseness, we all are awkward. I was going through a growth spurt. None of my freaking clothes would fit after I would, buy them. We'd have to buy them long and I'd still grow out of my clothes. And I was never one to fit in. I was just goofy. I was funny. I was odd. I was loud. And I was just boisterous. And, that was not who my colleagues were. And I grew up in a very small town. It's where my family still lives now. It is about, the population sign says 800, but there's about 3,000 people, maybe 4,000 people that live here now. But there's not a stop sign. And the school only had about 200 students from between 12th K kindergarten and 12th grade. So very small school, right? And you either kind of fit in, was popular in the popular crowd, or you just kind of weren't. And most of my friends were the popular kids, but I always just had this gut feeling that I never fit in. And actually, I have my best, my original best friend from kindergarten. We are still friends to this day. We went and had lunch a couple of weeks ago, and she's the only one that I keep in touch with in throughout all these years. So we went and had lunch, and we were talking about this, and she had told me this a few years ago, but we got to talking about it again, about how much they made fun of me. She says, I don't even know why we made fun of you, Tara, but you were always the butt of our jokes. We were always making fun of you, the butt of your jokes, and you had an ability to just accept it and take it, roll with the punches, and it never seemed like it bothered you from our point of view as kids, and so it always provoked us to go harder and make fun of you even more, to see when we could get you to bother you. And she says, first of all, I want you to know I'm so sorry. I am so sorry, because having kids myself and having a grandchild, and she's a psychologist and works at the state penitentiary. So she deals with inmates every day. She's like, I understand what we did to you. And that, I just want you to know I am deeply sorry. And I shared with her, I said, well, first of all, I appreciate that so much. It's very nice and very thoughtful for you to take ownership of that now. But I've had to do a lot of work around that. I was the youngest sibling out of two. So I have an older brother, and that's it. So I was used to being the brunt of his jokes, or getting picked on and kind of getting beat up by him, as older brothers do. And so it was just natural that when you guys would pick on me, to be able to let it roll off my back. But there was some emotional wounds there. And when I finally got into Landmark and started going through that program and getting awareness, because the Landmark really helped me gain self-awareness of who I was being and how I was showing up in the world and how I was making everybody else wrong. But when I went through that, I realized that a lot of my emotional reactions that I had as a young adult, through my teenage years, through my 20s and into my 30s, was stemmed from those kids that I called my friends making fun of me. And I had not done the work. I had not figured out the root cause of what was going on. And so when we went to the therapist, counselor, to sit down and try to help us figure out what the heck was going on between David and I, then she told me to put an ice pack on the back of my neck. It really was the fact that there was a root cause, and I knew there was a root cause going on, but I had no idea how to look at it, what tools to use to look at it, or be one with myself and be onerous of who I was showing up as. And I was showing up as a very hyper independent individual that had a very hard exterior. I would cut you before you could cut me. I'd make fun of you before you could make fun of me. It almost turned into a bully on my end. And that was because of so many years of dealing with people, on the school playground, being their punching bag and kind of laughing object. It just really it took an emotional toll on me. Now I can look back at it, and I have given so much forgiveness for people that have, done that. Forgive myself. I've accepted myself of who I am. I'm goofy. I tell David all the time, it's a comedy show every day. I'm here every night. I don't even need a microphone because I'm so loud, and there's only one person in the audience, and that's me watching myself, laughing at myself, because I've just gotten so comfortable with myself after I did the work of finding out where that emotional hurt was showing up as. And that's what happens in our life, is that we have something that happens. It could even be very small, minuscule and smaller than what I went through, or could be grand and huge and be, something just horrific. But doing the work around it and understanding that when somebody does something, that it sparks an issue. It's touching that emotional experience, nerve that you had in the past. I'll tell a little story here. what was it, love? Maybe 7 years ago that we went to the Oregon coast with my family, my mom and my sister-in-law and my brother. And we were walking down the beach, and my brother again has always, this is what he says: only I can pick on her because she's my little sister, but he will protect me from anybody and everybody else, right? And so we're walking along, and he picked up, and David's already laughing in the background. I know he is, but he picked up this, you already know where this is going. He picked up this long piece of seaweed, and at that point, they're real thick at the base, like a kind of like a bullwhip. Think of a bullwhip. And he picked that thing up, and he was dragging along, and I saw him, and I was like, oh no, I'm getting the heck away, because I know what's going to come next. He is going to try to hit me with that thing, whip me with it. And I was doing pretty good keeping my distance, and all of a sudden I lost track of him, and the next thing I know, he snapped me with that piece of seaweed that was, just the right way that it hurt. It left a big old welt on my leg or backside, wherever it hit me. And I remember immediately reacting. I was like, F you, Sean, this is why I effing hate you. You're such an effing blah, 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 blah. I mean, guys, there was every other F word, and he was a mofo and this, that, and the other. And I stormed off, crying and pissed off and just mad. And I walked back up to the car.
And David's just standing there looking at mom like, I don't know what to do, mama. I'm out of this.
And my mom has learned to stay out of it. They will fix it themselves. And so about 15, 20 minutes later, here comes my brother, my sister-in-law, David, and my mom. And, and at that time I had cooled off, I was done, cursing them out.
But were you?
So we get in the back. Well, sort of. So we get in the, I wasn't as well diverse as I am now. We get in the back of the car, and we load up because my brother was driving, and we were headed to the restaurant, and we went to go eat Japanese after that. So we were getting ready to head to the restaurant, and we were all talking, and somebody made a comment to me about, well, are you okay? And I said, I'm fine. Just let's go eat, And at that point, I had started to move past the situation. But that's a prime example of, getting an emotional reaction out of me. And my brother lived to do that. Now, fast forward to now, I've been up here for a few weeks with my family. And the other day, my brother was sitting in the room, the living room with my mom, and myself. And he was just picking on me. And I was just not so much picking on him back, but just taking the fun out of it. Not giving him the emotional reaction, making fun of myself, and just being able to diffuse it. Because now I know his game now, and I know what he's after. And he just looked at me and he says, it's not as fun to pick on you anymore. I said, because I've learned your game and I know what you're doing. And so now I just roll with the punches and we have fun with it. And I rather laugh. And he was like, well, it's about time you get there. And I said, yeah, well, you snap me with a piece of algae again, and you're going to have a different kind of situation on your hands, sir. I know where you sleep at.
Well, hey, Miss Nancy, we greatly appreciate you joining us. We're going to move over to Chatter. So if you have Chatter, definitely join us over there. If not, then let me know, and I can send you an invite. It's LinkedIn, Clubhouse, all into one, where we actually can share our metaverse world up at the top. So let us know if you're on Chatter. If not, I can send you an invite. And we're about to close this room down, okay?
I've really been able to get out of that and get out of that emotional wound, emotional hurt, really enjoy my company of my own self-worth, my own self-love, understanding where my emotions are, understanding what will kind of get me there, but also understanding how to back myself off that ledge. And that's why I talk about those mechanics, what's going on in your mind, what's going on in your body, what is being triggered, because that's what comes down to the whole situation, is that it's just the awareness. And a lot of times we are not aware that when something happens during the bulk of the issue, like, right here, right now, it's triggering something from the past experience. And it's usually triggering something that you haven't dealt with, or you haven't done some work to be with and go, okay, well, that happened and it's okay. I forgive myself. I forgive them, and be able to do the mechanics of working through that. And so I share that because, it comes down to understanding that a study that was done by Center of Creative Leadership found that leaders with high emotional intelligence are 70% more likely to have successful careers and lead successful teams and be known for their emotional IQ. I worked for a company after my last 7-8 years in corporate America, and one of the managers I had, this was again right before we started the emotional awareness and the self-awareness journey of our mindset and whatnot 8 years ago, and it was right at that time. And I remember, again, I would just always take things to heart. I would be emotionally invested and intertwined in so many things in business and life. And one day he calls me in the office and he's like, hey, let's talk. And he was kind of like a baby Yoda. He was a real short guy, but he was a real spiritual man that had done a lot of mindset work himself. And I was not at that point yet. And so I kind of just rolled my eyes when I was listening to him. But now looking back, it was such a beautiful thing that he shared. But Mike shared this in our other room, on Clubhouse that we were just that we're in, that it's kind of like clouds in the sky and they'll roll on by, or maybe it was Chef Andy that was sharing that, but they're like clouds. Emotions are like clouds in the sky and they roll on by. And that's the same thing he told me. He says, Tara, when you can get comfortable with being uncomfortable, you're mastering life. When you can get comfortable with being uncomfortable, you are mastering life. And I was like, what does that even mean? And he dove in to share with me, some things. And then he said, you've got to look at things like this. Emotions are like clouds in the sky. Have you ever just sat around and watched a cloud in the sky? Pretty soon you can see, sometimes if the wind's whipping fast enough, you can see that cloud move, and it's moving and it's going to move on past, and you're not going to see that cloud anymore. And, that analogy that he shared has stuck with me, 8 years later, about that is so true. Our emotions come and go, but when we become aware of what that nerve, it's hitting that nerve experience of where, something that happened to us in the past, whether it was our childhood, whether it was in our young adulthood, whether it was in, our adulthood, or whether it was a personal, situation or a professional situation, it's all striking a nerve. And that awareness really helps us kind of be able to get more control over it. A situation that's kind of going on in my immediate family, there is an individual within the immediate family that is really unaware of the emotional intelligence, lacks emotional intelligence right now. And I've shared multiple times with this individual that it's them. They've got to do the work. And the reason why the reaction that is showing up for them is because there is some trauma or an experience in their past that this, every time something kind of smells like it, just get a whiff of it just kind of being like it, this is the reaction you have. And you think it's because of what's going on here, literally physically in front of you at that moment. And in reality, it's not. You've exasperated the story. You've built a story in your mind. You've blown it out of proportion because you're right back to where, in a past relationship or in a childhood experience growing up, that you felt something or you were doing something and somebody made you feel a type of way. And now you are stuck in that trauma. And I only speak to that and I only share that with this person because I've been there. I know exactly what you're going through because I have been there, and it hurts and it sucks. But if you are unwilling to get awareness around it and do the work to kind of be one with it, you are always going to have this issue. And something David and I always shared with each other when we were having our hard times, in our relationship was, and this, has always stuck with me, is Just because we're having issues doesn't mean that these issues are going to stop. If we don't work out and you go be with somebody else, you're going to have these exact same issues with that person, because it's not that person, it's you. You're the issue in your own life. And I always use this analogy that I'm about to share with you guys because it's so absurd that it gets your attention. If you park your car and you come out from wherever you were, your house, wherever, the store, whatever, the mall, the work, and all of a sudden there's a big asteroid that's sitting on top of your car and it smashed the crap out of your car and it's a tin can now, that is your fault. And you'll be like, well, how is that my fault? Well, at the end of the day, you shouldn't have parked your car there. Well, Tara, I don't know Mother Earth. I didn't know an asteroid was coming. I have no control over an asteroid showing up and smashing my car. Doesn't matter. You have to have extreme ownership, and this is why we highly recommend the book Extreme Ownership, because it really comes down and teaches you how to take ownership in your life for everything, whether it's you or it's not you, but it's your life. And if you will take ownership of everything, like for instance, I stubbed my toe this morning. I didn't, but I'm just saying if I did, that's my fault. I should have been watching where I was walking. I should have, got my foot swung out farther around the couch or the table, whatever it was that you stub your toe on. That's my fault. That's my fault for parking my car there and just an asteroid, happened to have it. But as humans, we are quick to point a finger at everything else. Well, that's Mother Earth and that's our Mother Nature. And they, that asteroid just showed up and I don't have any control over it. And so it's Mother Nature's fault and not my fault. Well, you can have that mentality and that viewpoint. There's nothing wrong with it. But in reality, you're going to have a harder time in life because you're not willing to take extreme ownership of your life. And so if life is working for you really well, that's because what you are and who you're showing up. If it's not, that's because of who you are and how you're showing up. And that's just the bee's knees on it. And people, we have not been taught emotional intelligence. We haven't been taught the tools to deal with emotions and how to, we've lived in a society for so long that men can't show emotions. Pick yourself up by the bootstraps, stop that crying and move on. Crying's for girls. And then we've lived in a society where it's a man's world, or we've lived in a society where, you're a girl, you don't know anything. You just sit over there and look cute and pretty and, cook and clean. We've all know this, the stereotypes of the world that we live in, right? But that's not the world that we're going to be in anymore, because there is a planetary shift happening. Yes, I don't drive into this very much, but I love astronomy and I love astrology. And if you have never heard this, JP Morgan has always said this: billionaires use the planets to make investment moves, and millionaires use charts, period. So what does that mean? The planets and when they're moving and the stars and how they're moving really affect us as humans. But because we've been so disconnected from what is going on and moved off of different times and different calendars, and we've been shifted away from our natural resonance of who we are and the natural human beings, entities. Chef Andy said this earlier. We are all just beings having a spiritual experience. It is true. And when we understand what's going on in the world and in the planet and in the solar system and in the universe, it really helps kind of understand of where we're tracking and where we're moving into. We are definitely we have moved out of the times of the age of Pisces. If you know anything about this, it's a beautiful thing to learn, but we're moving out of the age of Pisces. Pisces was very masculine energy heavy. There's nothing wrong with it. Everybody has masculine and feminine energy, which is just a positive and negative charge. I'll prove this to you. If you go into emergency care services like the ER or whatever in the hospital, and you're hooked up on heart monitors and everything else, and you have a heart rhythm, and all of a sudden you hear a flatline, someone is code blue, they are flatlined, they are, no heartbeat. They will run in with a cart, and on that cart will have two little paddles that they're going to rub together. Well, the reason why they yell clear before they shock you is because that cart is an electrical cart. It has an electrical machine on top of it as a defibrillator that will put your heart back in rhythm. Hopefully, that is the objective. And so what happens is, and why they yell clear, is because there's a volt of electricity going through you to get your positive and negative charge balanced. If you've ever hooked up a car and needed to jump a car, you have on the batteries, when on your jumper cables, you have a positive, so you have a neutral, you have a hot, which is your positive, and you have a negative, which is the neutral. You know, you have to get those hooked up just right, or you're going to have a big spark and kind of pow on your hands. And the thing that comes down the pipeline is that we as humans are all just a positive and negative charge. That is the eons and neurons and neutrons going on through our body. And that is proven out by a defibrillator to get us our heart rhythm back into, beating. Well, that brings us back to a difference of another name for the positive and negative charge is the yin and the yang, the black and white circle, the yin and yang. Another name for that yin and yang is masculine and feminine. And so this is not like just because there's a masculine energy that's only for males and a feminine energy is only for females. That's not at all what's happening. But when we were in the age of Pisces, because each age lasts about 2,000 years, we were heavy masculine. That is why you saw so many wars that we've had over the past 2,000 years. You've heard very often that it's a man's world. You've seen where we've been heavy capitalism, where, we are just all out for ourselves and it's an eye for an eye and what's in it for me kind of attitude. All of those are heavy masculine energies. And we all, I'll speak for myself. The reason why I was in such a hyper independent attitude and through my 20s and my 30s of, and just hardcore and such a hard exterior is I was in my full masculine energy to protect myself because I couldn't be vulnerable. We were not in a time of society to be vulnerable and to share and to show our emotions or to talk about our emotions. And so that's why we have people walking around emotionally deficient because we've just stuffed it down. And we continue to stuff it down. And as we trap that energy in our body, that trauma in our body, that emotion in our body, emotion stands for energy in motion. And it's the same thing of that positive and negative. It always has a positive and negative in a circle. And that energy has to come out of your body. If it does not, you trap it at the base of wherever, in your gut, in your chest, in your mind, in your legs, wherever it gets trapped. And if you don't do the work to process it and be with it and just forgive yourself and forgive what happened and, work around it and just be one with it, then that energy that gets trapped and that turns into trauma. And then that trauma turns into dis-ease because you're just, you're not at ease anymore. And if you continue to allow it to sit there and fester, it turns into disease, period. And then that's when we start to see, your body breaking down, autoimmune issues. We start to see cancer popping up, all of these things and all of these factors. But because of modern medicine, we look at it from a physical and point of view instead of a spiritual and understanding the energetical way of who we are. Now we're moving into the age of Aquarius, and that is feminine energy. But what it is it's the balance of femininity and masculine energy. So feminine energy and masculine energy, it's the balance. So that is why you're starting to see people being able to have conversations like we're having today about emotional intelligence, to be able to bring this awareness to you and it be okay. And people not go, oh, you're some little, rainbow butterfly, you're, sissy la for talking about your feelings and all that. We're able to start having that. And if you noticed, the older generation, which is the silent generation, the baby boomers, they don't really talk about emotions too much. There's some absolutely in there, not saying all, that we do not cast or broad stroke and generalize, but for the majority of that, because I have a baby boomer mother and my dad, I think he would have been high up on that baby boomer, close to the silent generation. I still have aunts and uncles that are alive in their 90s. They're a part of the silent generation. That silent generation means that you are not to be talking about your emotions and your feelings and how it affects you and how, people make you feel or things happen. That it was all hush, hush, don't deal with it. And now all of a sudden you see a younger generation and younger generations coming up that do want to talk about it. They do want to have these conversations. They do want to say, hey, this is what's going on. This is how that affected me. And it's healthy. It's healthy to do that because it keeps our body in balance, right? That positive and negative energy is in balance. I'll share a story with you and then we'll go ahead and open this mic up so we can move it around. The story is that 3 years ago, this past August 1st, end of July, my brother was in a very serious accident. And he made a choice in his life to get out of a moving vehicle. And he had been drinking and he did not land on his feet. He landed on his head. They had to life flight him to the hospital and he spent 1 week in ICU. He spent 3 weeks in the hospital with a traumatic brain injury. And anybody knows what a traumatic brain injury is you don't ever know what you're going to get. You don't know how you're going to come out of that. Some people are fully never the same again. They don't have the motor skills. They can't walk. They can't talk. They're fully dependent on other people. And some people come out like they never had anything. Fortunately, my brother was on the other end where he, made a full recovery and is better off today than he was before, and in the lifestyle and has chose not to drink anymore and made some lifestyle changes and really has, that's really been a great marker of him kind of making a pivot in life. And we're very blessed to have him here and fully running his, his company and fully, just rocking it as awesome as he is. With that said, the doctors did not expect him to live. And they, told him that his follow-up a month later after he got out of the hospital, they said, for the first 3 to 4 days, we didn't expect you to live. We weren't going to tell your family that, but we didn't expect you to live. But whatever your sister was doing was pretty incredible because your markers would, every time she would come to visit you in the hospital, because it was in the middle of COVID, so we could only be there for a little bit in the hospital with them. We couldn't be up there 24 hours a day, and it was ICU, right? And the doctor said, whatever she did, I don't know what she was doing, but it helped you. And so my brother asked me what I did, and I said, well, the truth be honest and truth be told is I had energy workers working on you around the world. They weren't here anywhere in Idaho, but I had them working on you from afar and working on realigning your energy and getting your positive charge and your negative charge, your feminine, your masculine, your yin and yang rebalanced so that your brain could heal. Because when you are out of balance, you would not heal. And so I did a lot of work when I was here for about an hour with you every day. I would be on the horn and I would be text messaging my team or my, people that were in helping us be able to say, okay, what do I need to do now? And it wasn't so much me. It was just, they would say, okay, well, we need you to lift his left arm up because he's got some energy stuck there that we need to clear out. My point being, guys, is you probably don't believe it, and it's okay. That's all right. You don't have to believe it. But at the short story
half
of
the
it
room left.
is, yeah, it's okay. It's okay, because it is this. I mean, David will tell you 8 years ago when I talked about this stuff and all that, he was like, "Oh, you are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, Tara," and that's okay. We're in a different time and era now, and it's challenging. It challenges the concrete evidence that we've been raised to believe, and I get it, and I don't hold that against anybody because I too was at that point in my life before I understood. But when you've been through something and you understand and you see what's happening, the medical doctor said it was nothing we did. We just, we gave you pain meds so you would be comfortable and you would rest. It was nothing that we did. But you are a walking miracle. And so at that point, it's really hard to say no, and whatever your spiritual and religious beliefs are, you can believe in that as well, because I love it. It's all kind of one and the same. And we don't talk politics or religion, but my thing is I'm so supportive of everything and so encouraging of everything that when people believe that, God answered a prayer or Buddha answered a prayer or whatever it is, I am so in tune with that and going, absolutely. Because in my eyes, it's all love energy. It's all great energy. It's all good for us. And when we can just live in love and kindness, we're going to be a better society. And so we'll move off of that just because I don't want the rest of the room to leave. But I just wanted to share that from that point is it really, we've got to get in tune with our emotions and have these conversations like that. And it's okay if you don't think that, what I shared, is kind of, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs or off in La La Land. It's okay.
I'm just
I have
joking
no
with
problem.
you, baby. You all good. You heard me?
Well, take it away, love. I'll let you. I was going to pass the mic over to you after that anyway, so I just went on mute because I was passing it over to you on that note.
Got you. Well, we want to welcome in the room Miss Kimberly, Miss Margaret, Thaddeus, Sam, welcome. Miss Christy, Miss Lisa, welcome, welcome, welcome. You guys all make sure you're following each other and you're collaborating with each other. You know what each other's doing because, we are all one conversation away from changing somebody's life, changing our lives, and then more importantly, remembering how far up the mountain we've made it. We're also over here on Chatter. That if you guys have not heard about Chatter, it is definitely, linked in audio and Zoom and video all mixed together to where literally, I can actually share our metaverse in this room and you guys can actually see a screen. If those of you that are on our actual live, you're seeing us in metaverse right now, where you're seeing Tara in our Hello Plaza Mall. And if you guys are not familiar, with what we do, then I highly encourage you guys to dive into our amazing Biz in a Box. That is, you literally click my face or Tara's face or the link up above in Chatter, and that is our Biz in a Box. Miss Kimberly down there just got her Biz in the Box locked up and loaded. So if you want to click on her face and go check out her brand new Biz in a Box, definitely go look at that. She's going to be on our Hello Pivot Thursday next week. So definitely come and join us at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, where we're going to be introducing and showcasing amazing things that she's up to. And then here pretty soon, she's going to be joining us in our Hello Plaza Mall to where you can join in right from her Biz in a Box straight into the metaverse, where here pretty soon, as we continue to share with you guys, people are going to be asking for your crusty dusty website or your link tree or your 10K thing or whatever card you might be using. People are going to be asking you, hey, where's your metaverse world at, where I can interact and be surrounded with an AI avatar that can showcase your business and your brand. And that's what we're bringing out next, is that in our Hello Plaza, you're going to be able to get an AI avatar of yourself that somebody can walk up to, somebody can talk to, and literally have a conversation with you without you being there. And if you really want to know, what Hello does, we save you time, because time is our only competition. And we really want people to understand that times are changing, things are changing. Are you changing is the bigger thing. And so many people are going to wait around and wait. Even the other day, right, the world that we're utilizing, it was, you could get in and you could do the things that you want to, but they locked it down. Now you got to pay to play. Triple the amount that it used to be, which is what we keep sharing with people. You're going to wait, and then it's going to be way too expensive, and you're going to be locked out the game. And so this is where, Walmart, Gucci, Nike, and all these companies are implementing, their metaverse worlds. And now we have the same opportunity. And at Hello, we can build that for you or show you how to do it, but more importantly, help you with your foundation. And so many times people do not have their foundation in order to just be utilizing, their social media or their, email marketing or AI to their benefit, because we're stuck in being the janitor in our business and not the actual president of our business. And more importantly, we share with people, do you have a business or do you have a hustle? Because there is a difference between the two. And that was even, part of the conversation that we have every Tuesday. That if you guys don't know about our How To Tuesdays, yesterday we had an amazing conversation of authors skyrocket their book sales, unlock the book, mastery code of being able to showcase your book. And we talked about, the social media. We talked about the video content. We talked about, the short form. We talked about, having your book launch. I saw somebody today had their book launch on LinkedIn. And I'm like, I'm glad you're having a book launch, but do you know how much better it would have been if this book launch could have been in the metaverse, where everybody could have showed up in their avatar? You could have showcased, a video on the big screen. You could have had everybody come in there and meet and greet. You could have sold your books right there in the metaverse, other than having people come into a normal audio room, because it's an experience that people want. And we're all craving for that, especially as my ladies would know, right? Especially dealing with Tara, some people would rather go to Target than Walmart. Some women would rather shop, at Ross or shop at Nordstrom's. There's a different experience. For myself, I would rather go to Macy's other than going to, one of the department stores or one of the little mini shops that were in the mall, right? Because it had more variety. There's an experience. And that's why we shared earlier is that we forget as business owners and as customers how these emotional mindsets play. And that right now we need to be finding every way possible to gamify our business, to even when people do come into our Hello Plaza Mall, you earn points, where those points you can trade in for services and products and content from the Hello LLC. How amazing would it be for you to be able to have, an area where people can come in and literally gain points to be able to, have your services and products. And so this is, just some of the things that we encourage you guys to be able to look at as we talk about your emotions and impacting your life and your biz. And so anybody that wants to come up, please feel free to come up. Hecton, I see you over here in chatter, man. You finally got over here. Anything you want to share or talk about on this topic? Because we're also live on LinkedIn. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook. We're live on Twitch right now. We're live on all of these other platforms. So, share away with us. So what you got, brother? Talk to us if you're available.
Oh, yeah. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
No, I'm just curious to know more about the company.
Yeah.
And more about what you're doing,
Yeah, for sure. What I encourage you to do is hit that link that's pinned to the top. That'll take you to our amazing Biz in a Box. And then what I can also do is I can send you, our calendar where you can meet, where we can actually have a tour of yourself. But, I share with you guys this is that, when we talk about emotions and we talk about, having the right mentality or making the right decision as we leave out of here, I just want to recap, do you want to be rich or do you want to be right? And I share that because that's something that I do all the time. And that even when Tara talked about, taking the 10 deep breaths, taking a step back and really understanding, hey, my emotions are taking over, because it is true that when you do get in an argument, when you do, find yourself, getting triggered or getting upset, the front side of your brain does shut down and you really get stupid drunk at the end of the day. And so this is where, meditation, this is where working out is key to release some of that stress. And being able, like with Miss Lisa, in her rooms that she talks about is nutrition, and really being able to understand supplementation is key. Whatever it is, however you do it, you do it. Me and Tara started out in network marketing. That was with a wellness, platform. If you guys don't know, myself, I've lost, over 80 pounds. Tara has lost over 50 pounds because we knew the importance of nutrition and supplements and getting our mind right. And as I share with people, I had to, release the weight from my mind to lose the weight from my body, because anything you lose, you're going to go back and find it. And so, this is where it really takes a key indicator of how we take care of our bodies that really, allows us to be emotional intelligence. Because I know with Tara being gone, visiting her mom, I've been working out a hell of a lot more. And with that working out, like last week, I worked out, 5 days in a row. And I can't tell you the last time I've worked out 5 days in a row. Holy shit. Probably maybe, back when I was in my 30s, and it was a challenge, because on day 4, I was like, ooh, player, you ain't done this in a while, man. You sure you want to make this attempt? And, I felt so much better. And then day 5 came, and this is that emotional awareness that you all know. We have these excuses that pop up. We have these reasonings that pop up. We have, anything and everything will try to take us off that course of what we want to do. And that's similar to our emotions, because as I sit here and I say traumas, dramas, patterns, and programs, some of y'all are like, nah, I ain't got those things. Bullshit. We all got those things. Prime example, my father, gets in a certain stinking mood, when my mom goes out of town. It's been playing out, since I can ever remember. You have something similar, or that might be it, that you have to take responsibility of how you show up, because that's a trigger. That's an unhealed trigger or a trauma that we have that we really have to be one with. As I shared earlier, authenticity, that is a big word right now. Be authentic, be authentic, be authentic, be authentic. Well, first, let me help you out. In order for you to be authentic, you got to heal yourself. So until you heal those internal wounds inside, please don't be talking about authenticity when you have all these things that come up in your life and you're not aware of how they come up, right? And so this is where we encourage you guys all to stop looking at other people, stop blaming other people for problems and situations, and really pay attention to the energy and the vibration and what you bring to the table. Is it war, right? Is it taking somebody's words in the wrong way? Is it creating a story and not allowing that person to get out of the story you created because of these traumas, because of these dramas? Like Tara talked about earlier, the punching bag. A lot of the times our traumas creates the way of being, that then those traumas go off on other people, the people that we love, that we don't mean to, but because we're not being one with ourselves, because we're not being emotional intelligence, and we're being childish, right? We're not looking internally. And this takes a lot of work. It's still a lot of work, even to this day, for me to sit up here and talk about it when I know there's been moments I've lost it, which is why I say it's cute and adorable that your ass is talking about it. But when it really matters, are you going to do it? And another way to say it, you cannot show up to the boardroom, act an ass at the boardroom table, leave the boardroom table, and then come back and be like, oh, I'm good. What's up? What are we talking about? When you just cussed everybody ass out at the boardroom table and was completely obnoxious, and now you're cool and you're in your right state of mind, that, oh, my bad, that didn't happen, or I didn't say that. My dad is great at doing that. Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Right. And so how you act in the heat of the moment is key, because it's also how we leave people and how we treat people and how we make them feel. Because at the end of the day, we might not talk about feelings, we might not talk about emotions, especially those of us that are men, but I call BS. You do, right? Those things do matter. And because we've been so conditioned and told don't do this, don't do that, a pipe can only hold so much pressure. And after a while, if you're not releasing that and having a way to release it, which meditation and working out and supplementation can help you out with those things by easing that and really being aware of that, then it's going to be a little tough. And especially in today's society, we're so key about talking about what everybody else is going to do, how everybody else is going to do it. And so just balled up in this big whirlwind that we're not even much paying attention to how we're being, what we're going to change in our own household. What changes are we going to change in this year, let alone, forget the next 4 years, but just this year, this month, tomorrow, this week, today. And so this is where just take a step back and be aware. And, I encourage you guys, look, there's different types of meditations that you can do. There's sitting meditation, there's walking meditation, there's laying down meditation. Trust me, if you fall asleep, don't be mad. It's the best sleep you can ever get. There's great meditations that we share with you guys, especially if you're in our Pivot membership. Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dolores Cannon is amazing. Tony Robbins is amazing. Put in a YouTube guided meditation and just go to town. There's one for 10 minutes. There's one for 5 minutes. There's one for an hour. There's one for 4 hours. Me and Tara literally listen to, soothing music at night, or guided meditation at night, to really the self-conscious. Baby, I saw today that they cracked the code to self-conscious. So that was a little weird. Definitely want to read that one. But this is just some tips and tricks other than us just talking about these things, right? And not leaving you guys with something that you can go do on your own. The biggest key is that you go do it, right? A lot of the times we leave rooms and there's a lot of things that are said, but what can I go do to make sure I can get better at that topic or that situation? And those are some things that I would suggest. Love, you got anything you want to share before we get out of here?
Yeah, the final thing I would share is the 4 agreements. And one of the 4 agreements is don't take anything personal. So if you have somebody in your life, whether it's a significant other, a family member, somebody in your professional environment that is kind of getting under your skin or telling you that the reason why they're doing this is because of you, don't take anything personal. In reality, it is not you. It is something that you are, you do or say that triggers an old trauma, an old emotional experience back in the day, and they haven't dealt with it. They haven't been able to come to peace with it. And so you are just, your energy aggravates them. And, don't change who you are if you're being a positive, impactful, helpful, authentic person, and someone is telling you that you annoy me. Well, that's not you. And so I share that because we all are going to encounter someone in our life, whether it's personally or professionally, that is going to try to shift the blame and make it you. You are the issue. And it is not. It is their issue. And the having empathy and understanding and self-awareness, you will understand quickly that it is not you, it is them. And you just got to give them, grace, understand that they're going through something, understand that they haven't worked through something, and just understand that it's going to be okay, and wish them nothing but the best, because you got to protect your energy as well. So that's what I would say as we go ahead and finish up this amazing room. I thank you all for being here. It was a great conversation today. I know I got half the room to clear out when I started talking about, all the stuff that I talked about, but it's okay. It's just what it is. And I don't make them wrong. I wish them all love and light, and, I just wish them love. And that's all that you can do, is hold that space of grace. So with that said, love, you know what what is next.
Yeah.
Love.
Kindness.
You broke up on me.
I said kindness.
Yeah. But most importantly, integrity
and commitment.
Yeah, but I can't hear you. You're breaking up. Take it away, love.
Anyway, love, kindness, integrity, commitment, and consistency. But more importantly, we'll see you guys next time. Definitely make sure you guys come and join us next week for our How To Tuesdays at 4:30 Eastern Standard Time, our Wisdom Wednesdays at 4:30 Eastern Time, and then our Hello Pivot with our amazing guest, Miss Kimberly Martin. You guys definitely going to enjoy that, and that's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you guys want to be a guest on our Hello Pivot, broadcast, definitely let us know. If you'd like to be a guest, this is where you bring your friends, we bring our friends, and let's collaborate. Let's have a conversation. Let's get your business out there. Let's talk about your business. Let's talk about your story. Let's talk about your glory. Let's talk about, some of the lessons that, you wish you had known when you were 12 years old. And just a great conversation at the end of the day. We invite anybody to join us. All you got to do is just press the button and ask, right? Closed mouths don't get fed. And this is a way that you can, be able to showcase what you're doing. And we give you the full stage. And we also have you come and meet us in Metaverse to where, you can showcase, yourself in Metaverse as well. And so I encourage you guys also, if you haven't, go listen to our brand new podcast, Getting Naked. We ain't getting naked at all. It's a real, raw, authentic conversation. And it's really, some great conversations that me and Tara get real and raw on. Nowhere near the conversations that we have in here. But you can also go watch that in Metaverse, or you can listen to it on the crusty dusty 2D way, but go in through our Biz in a Box, and you don't have to download an app or nothing. You literally hit that button and boom, you can start listening to it and scrolling and finding out all the things that we do at the Hello LLC, which is really, help you keep up with technology and time. We don't care if you're an entrepreneur, an author, a coach, you want to build your brand, build your business. Let's definitely get on the phone and let's have a conversation and pivot you forward. Do not wait until it's too late. And don't, we laughed about Blockbuster, but there's about to be a lot of companies that are about to be the next Blockbuster if they don't expand their brand. And a lot of the times we use excuses and reasons why we can't, invest, but yet let a Beyonce concert come up, let a purse, let some vacation pop up, and you find a way. And it blows me away that we won't find a way to invest in our business and build our business into the future, or we won't have no business, right? And so with that being said, we'll talk to you guys later. Have an amazing day. And until next time, toodles!